Hey guys, welcome back to Thorough Capping. I'm coming at you with Delmar card for tomorrow. First thing I want to mention is I have gotten a few comments about the resolution has been blurry, but at the same time, I've had people see them comments and get back to me saying it was fine on their end as well. When I watched the videos, they seem fine on my computer. I'm not saying they're not blurry on your end, but at the same time, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to please everyone. So what I did change the resolution a little bit on this video, and we'll see if this helps. If we look at the grid, hopefully this is clearer for everybody. It's a little bit larger now. I actually zoomed in a little bit on the grid, so we're going to have to be swinging back and forth. But what I did was, before I even get into this, the Saratoga today, I didn't do a recap video on it because I wanted to spend my time handicapping for Delmar. But Saratoga was a little bit of a crazy day. Where I was accurate was really chalky. And a few races where there were some decent priced horses come in, I was nowhere near it. So I don't know if throwing in the follow the figures FTF data with the TC ratings and changing them that way had any effect on it, or if it was just a bad day. I mean, bad days happen. But thankfully, for me at least, I was away most of the day. I got drug out fishing in the morning. And I didn't get back until about the 7th race anyway. And I kind of checked and see how things were going. And like I said, where I was pretty accurate was races where even the exactas were playing low. I was hitting the chalk. So hopefully Delmar tomorrow, I'm a little more on top of value. But at the same time, you're at the mercy of what, if chalk is winning that day, favorites are winning, they're winning. And if you're a player that's looking to beat chalk, whether it be through your win plays or whether it be through your multis or your verticals, and chalk's winning, hopefully you find a way to back yourself up a little bit where you're not just losing race after race. So, with that said, Delmar, August 3rd. First of all, the card tomorrow starts out with of course, a 2-year-old race with a lot of first-time starters, so I passed on that race. There were a total of 6 out of the 8 races that I looked at, we handicapped, and ignore that there. That was something I thought I was typing on another sheet, and I was actually typing on this. But I got an email yesterday, and I guess the video I did on the follow the figures kind of spawned this email. And the email was, can you do a card with using the pace velocity, Sartin pace, feet per second, and blend that in and see how that goes along with the actual original TC ratings. So what I did was, I ran the pace figures off of not only my top 4 plays from the TC rating, but I also added in some follow-ups along with that were showing up either over here or they were showing up, pretty close to the 4th ranked horse, just to see what the pace figures and pace numbers would do for those horses. All right, so here's what we're going to look at. Race number 2 was a tough one to do it with, and we'll see why. It was also a maiden race. It was a maiden claimer. And we had a lot of horses that were just, I had no option as far as pace lines. I had to use the one that was there. Same thing here. We had a couple first-time starters in there. So it was almost a race I was going to pass as well. But then I looked down at race 10, and when we get there, you'll see why. And I didn't want to just do 5 races. I wanted to at least do 6 of the 8. So what I did was I did the best I could pulling the matrix information from. We have the 2 first-time starters here, the 2 and the 4, and then my qualitative data. And when I finished with the qualitative data, the rankings, I was not only able to, but with the 2 first-time starters, only ranked 3. I came out with the 1, the 5, and the 7. So I'll just put that over here. I know it's going to come up as a date. Let me change that to text. 157 would have been the top 3 here using just these. Now, when you throw the pace in, obviously I couldn't do the pace lines for the 2 first-time starters. What I looked at here was the fact that the 1 horse dominated the pace all the way across, and I focused mainly on the averages and not so much in here. There were a few races where I did focus on in here, but what I did was I also created a formula where the average of these would equate to a rating out of 100. And what I just used was I used 60 as the standard 100. So here we have a 95.36. So really what it is, it's just a percentage. But I wanted to stay in the same theme as the TC ratings. And once these were manipulated, the 1 was the top overall TC. Then we have the 5 and then the 7. So what I did was I threw the 4 in there as one of the Mike Smith is on the 4, first time starter. He's got a pretty good jockey trainer connection percentage. I threw the 4 in there as the 4th choice, and I went 1-5-7-4 in the first race, or the second race, my first race. 3-1 morning line. As you can see, this is a 5.5 furlong. He ran 6.5 last time out. He won at this distance for the most part, if you look at the internal segments. So if he can come out and get the lead tomorrow, dropping out of a maiden special weight, but even though that was at Sunland Park, so we'll see. But he's got the qualitative information to back it up as well. He's got a nice workout pattern. That was in March. He's got the bullet work and consistent works before that or after that. So we'll see. The 5 was another one. The 5 is actually the morning line favorite, 9-5. And there could be a speed duel up front. And then we have the 7 as a 4-1 morning line. All right. But I just wanted to, as I was handicapping that race, I just couldn't wait to get past it. So we go race number 3. Race number 3 is mile 16th on the turf. And when we look at just the matrix figures and the qualitative data, okay, we got a lot. We have 2 horses coming off of double moves, turn and stretch. We got a lot going on over here. 2 dominates over, not dominates, but the 2 shows up in ability, speed cume, and second target. And the 5 horse shows up in the final fraction, which really I used the early fraction because I think this is a, oh no, this is a final fraction, okay. One of the races was 5 furlongs, and I used the early fraction over here instead of the final fraction. But once this was all sorted out, our top point getters were, and I have this enlarged again, so that's why I got to keep scrolling back. The 2, the 2, the 5, the 3, and the 10, which is also eligible. We have 3 also eligibles. I don't know if any of them will run, but it's very possible. 1 scratch, and all of a sudden the 10's in the race. 2 scratches, and the 11's in the race. I did not like the 12, also eligible. That's why I didn't do any numbers on him. But I also thought that the 1, 6, 7, and the 11 were worth running through pace. And when I did that, the 6 horse dominates the pace here across the board. Now, he doesn't dominate it enough to bring his TC rating to the top, but as we know from before, that doesn't necessarily mean that anything. But he does dominate the feet per second, the velocity. He does show up over here. And that's one of the reasons why I like to I'm carrying these horses over to see how well they do on the pace. And I have him in blue simply because he stands out over here. If I were going to go with the TC ratings only from over here now, the overall, when you include the Sartin figures, it'd be a 3-11-6, and it'd be a toss-up between the, well, I guess the 7 would be the next one, so I could just throw the 7 in there. 3-11-6-7. If I were going strictly off of pace, obviously the 6 would be my top, and I would have to dig deeper into these numbers here, or over here, to come out with the next 3. But 3-11-6-7 without the pace, 2, 3, 5, 10. So what I did was I put 2, 3, 5, 6 as my top plays. Okay, 3 is my target horse. 3 is showing up over here in the pace. The overall rating, 91.58. The 7 horse, he just didn't show me enough on this side for me to include him. So 2, 3, 5, 6 are going to be my plays there. So either way, I don't have to worry about the 10 or the 11 getting in. Unless, of course, one of these horses scratch. Now I have to look at the fact that the 11 shows up second over here. And the 10 does show up fourth over here. But when that time comes, I'll worry about that. Okay, the third race. The third race is... that was the third. The fourth race. Fourth race is a mile in the dirt. Okay, so the mile in the dirt... See, I think this was... It's kind of clear cut. I mean, I was able to pull pace lines from routes. But then we have the 5 horse. When I ran the pace numbers, the 5 and the 6 came off of turf. Those numbers came off of turf. I guess I could have used this mile in an 8th race here. But I didn't. But it's too late now. So you're going to see that their pace numbers are going to kind of dominate the rest of them because of the grass. And because the grass has a tendency to be a little bit faster. But let's take a look how it comes out. Delmar 4th. There are only 6 horses. The 2 horse dominates the matrix side of the grid. And therefore has the 83.5 TC rating. 6 is just behind it at 83.1, and he's coming out of a key race. So we take a look at that key race. He is the 5-2 morning line favorite. Ran okay. I mean, ran an even race at 63,000. I didn't have it identified as a drop down on here, but I do have it identified, I'm pretty sure, as a drop on the chart. No, I don't. Missed that. So again, that brings him to the top here. 84.1. And when we look at the numbers here, 92.10 for the pace rating. So the 6 is probably going to be my top play. I'm going to flip them at 6 and the 2. But again, the ranking doesn't really matter necessarily, because the 2 is actually dominating the grid. So I'm going to leave it the way it is. 2, 6, 3, 5 as my plays. And I'm going to go back again. That way you guys have a chance to pause and see what's going on over here. If you want to dig into the actual segments here, it's up to you. But as you see before, the overall average pace is dominated here by the 5 and the 6, because these came off of actual sprint races. Same thing with the sustained pace. Not sprint, they came off of turf races, I'm sorry. Okay, early, a little more even here, because even on grass, they have a tendency to save their energy early in these route races. And the FX doesn't even matter in the route, but I just included them. I included it in all the averages anyway. Okay, so 2, 6, 3, 5. Okay, full field here. The 5th race at Delmar. Moving on is a 5 furlong on the turf. This is that sprint. So let's take a look at the grid. We have 4 also eligibles in here, so it may only be an 8-horse race. So we might not even see the 9 through 12 get in. I tossed the 12. I felt that the 9, 10, and 11 were worthy of running figures on. The 8-horse dominates the matrix side of the grid here, as you can see. He's also a drop-down speed horse. I don't necessarily know if I should... I was in a dilemma. Should I give him 2 points? Because there are 4 other class droppers in this race. So it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be out on alone on the lead. And as you can see, this, well, what are they? The 2, 3, the 5, and the 7. 2 can run on the lead, EP. And the 7 is also an early runner as well. So, I mean, the 6-horse does dominate the early segment of the race. 21.6 in the lead. But at the same time, today's race could be a little bit different. But we'll see how this goes. Let's take a look at the pace over here. The 8 horse does dominate the pace. He's got the factor X, which we look at in a sprint race like this. He's got the dominant early pace, sustained pace as well. 57. Actually, no, he's got some 58s in the sustain, but this is only a 5 furlong race, and he's got the overall average of a 58.97, and his pace rating is an 98.29. The 6 and a 7 follow up right behind him here. And when we look at the new TC ratings adjusted, we have the 8, the 6, the 2, and the 3. And I could have went 3-2, 2-3 there either way, but I just went with the higher of the 2. And what does that do? Originally it was 8-3-6-2. It doesn't change my numbers, okay? Doesn't change my numbers. The pace grid is reflecting everything that was reflected over here. 8 is my top play. 6, 3, and 2. And I think the 8 may be, yeah, 8 is the 5-2 morning line favorite. And maybe worthy of a single in a multi-wager race. I mean, he's been running well at an optional claimer, 100,000. 100,000. Drops down to optional claimer, 40. Okay. Not a drop to worry about because he's not going in for a tag, so they're not looking to get rid of the horse. Maybe they're looking to steal another purse and pad his 2023 earnings. Okay, race number 6. 6.5 furlongs. I did toss the 2. Let me see real quick, just so you guys can see what a chance to see what I was drawing from here as far as numbers go. I didn't have any surface intangibles to worry about as far as turf. I did have to draw some target ratings off of a couple 5.5 furlong races. Same thing with the final fractions. I made adjustments to the final time. And let's look at the grid. 8 horses, race 6. I carried 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 horses over to draw the pace on. 3 horses making a good showing here. 8 horse is my target and my ability horse, but doesn't necessarily show anywhere else where the TC rating was high. But let's move over here. There wasn't a whole lot of qualitative stuff. We had 3 drop downs, 8 being one of them. Final TC ratings just off of this grid over here, I would rank at 3, 5, 8, 4. And when we look over here, 3 horse is also, he's got the factor X, which is a sprint race. He's got the top pace rating when it's all said and done. And the 5 horse still remain, or no, I'm sorry, it was enough to bolster the TC rating so that the 3 is the top. If I was going by just the ratings on this side, with everything cumulative, 3, 5, 4, 8. Here was 3, 5, 8, 4. And I'm ranking them 3, 5, 4, 8 in race 6. Okay, and now finally, race 7. Race 8, you'll see why I didn't do that. I mean, I started to do it. I looked at it. It's an optional claimer, 40,000. Race 8, let me get to it. It's a maiden claimer, 20,000. I said, okay, we see races. There's enough races. But at the same time, it's a mile, and we're looking at sprints. The 1 mile race here was terrible. Took back another sprint. 2 miles, but they're both on turf. String of turf races. 1 timeout. Yeah, I know, I could have just scratched that one 30-1, but and again, there was just too many intangibles where I didn't feel the need to have to, handicap 12, 13 horses when the numbers could have been really skewed, even on the pace, especially on the pace side of the grid. So I finished with the 7th race. 7th race, there's 11 horses, 11 being the also eligible. And we'll scroll back and take a look at it. There's our 11. He is 7 to 2 morning line if he does get in, and he does show up pretty well on my grid. So let's check it out. The 5 horse dominates the matrix factors over here, as you can see. Then we have some other horses showing up. Ton of class droppers in this race. 8 of them. 8 of the 11 are dropping in class. 6 horse coming off a turn move. 3 horses coming out of races with next out winners. And we have 1 horse that was worthy of a trainer rating notation. 5, 8, 11, 7 are my top 4, just using the ratings off of this grid. Now, I did carry over the 3, 4, the 6, and the 8, 9, or the 9, 10. Yeah. Over into the pace side. So when we look at the pace grid, we have 2 horses standing out over here. We have the 4 and the 5. Okay, the 4 stands out and sustained and overall, and so does the 5. And when we move over to the overall, the actual average rating, the 5 horse is the standout, as he was over here on the matrix side of the grid. And if I had to rank here, and again, I don't know if the 11 is going to run, but 5, 11, 3, 8 are my top 4. And when I compare over here, 5, 8, 11, 7, I tossed the 7 because the 7 didn't show me. The 7 was just was the last of the 4 of the top 4. I showed up in the target buyer rating. Wasn't one of the class droppers in the race. And shows me very little to nothing over here on the pace side. So I dropped the 7. And I made my plays 5, 3, 8, 11. And as usual, if I'm playing, I'm going to look for value out of those 4 horses to win value. Hope it's a day where favorites are getting beat. And hopefully I'm putting my win money on the proper value horse to win. And then I'll decide what I'm going to do with my verticals. And if I'm going to play any multi-leg wagers, I'll wait for scratches to come out and see what happens there. All right, so hopefully that was helpful, adding in the pace grid instead of the FTF grid to our normal TC rating grid. And we'll see how it goes. All right, and also please, I'm welcoming your comments, not only on this method here, I'm also welcoming your comments on the clarity of the video, if it was any better, especially those of you that were having issues with it before. All right, I'll talk to you soon.